What's shaking, BookTube? My name's Cam and I'm here today with a sequel to one of my most watched videos. This is 5 more book cliches that I hate.
Roll the intro.
So quite a long while ago, back when my backdrop was still really bare and I didn't have a bookcase and hardly any books, just a long time ago I did a video called 5 book cliches that I hate. And for some reason that's completely unknown to me, it ended up being one of my most watched videos, which is awesome. But at the same time, I'm just like, weird, why that one? But anyway, for that reason I decided I would do a bit of a sequel to it because there are a few more that I actually don't like seeing in books. So yeah, this is 5 more. And the cliches in the last video I did were a bit YA centric, so these cliches that I'm going to talk about in this video kind of go into a broader area of genres. They still can be applied to YA, but it does branch out a bit more. So in my last video, the 5 cliches that I mentioned were looking in the mirror, killing the mentor, having the friend turn out to be a traitor, love triangles, of course, everyone has to mention that one, and dystopian fantasies where the young group of heroes have to go up against a corrupt government, organization, corporation kind of thing. So jumping straight into this one, number 1 is bad kids with bad parenting. In almost any book that focuses around high schoolers or teenagers or anything like that, mostly with contemporary books, you'll find that there's a bully. And when the writer tries to add depth to that bully or give them a reason for being a bully, it is almost always that they have shit parenting. At some point towards the end of the story, you get a glimpse into that bully's home life, and usually it's that they've got an abusive or drunk parent or parents that abuse them, and so on and so forth. It carries down to them, which they transfer over to the kids they bully at school. And I realize this happens a lot in real life, but the truth is, some people are shit people just because they're shit people. And it has kind of become an easy plot device for writers who don't really want to have to think of a different way to give that bully depth. Specifically, the shit home life will usually take the form of a dad, a stepdad, or a father figure, again usually drunk, and then the mum who's too scared to be alone and lets the father figure treat the kid like crap. I'm sure already you've got a few stories or even shows or movies that come to mind when you hear this cliche, this trope. Before I go into number 2, I want to make it really clear that these aren't cliches that I'd never want to see used again, and not necessarily even cliches that I hate themselves. When I say I hate these cliches, it's more just that I hate the fact these plot devices have been used to the point of being cliches. Number 2, kind of sticking to the young teenager, maybe even high school spectrum. It's the nerd or the loser who in the book is usually described as being, ugly or timid or plain, getting with the hot person, the really popular person, the person on the pedestal. The reason this annoys me so much is because you've got this person who's described as being the protagonist or the hero who gets treated like crap. And even if it's not directly by the person they have a crush on, it's by their friends. And they still pine over this popular hot person. And in the end, usually that hot or popular person comes around and they get together and it's them against the world. I just kind of hate that that protagonist lacks enough self-respect to see that that person doesn't give a shit about them until the climax of the book when they do something to a degree in which they can't be ignored anymore. And sadly, it's just a bit unrealistic. I mean, even though it does happen where a really attractive person gets with a plain or even an ugly person, it's not that common, and usually it doesn't come about as a result of the stuff that happens in these books. Number 3, this one's reserved pretty much exclusively for horror books. And again, this kind of transfers over to movies and shows, and that is creepy little kids. And it's almost always not even the kids that are evil, it's that the kid has some kind of entity, demon, ghost, whatever, poltergeist, latched to them, but they're the ones being creepy about it. You know what I mean? It's usually you've got your protagonist, like the parent, who goes into the hallway and the kid's standing there at the end of the hallway in the dark like some kind of psycho. Or they wake up in the middle of the night and the kid's standing over them in the bed. Like they wouldn't out of reflex just pop the kid in the chin. Not saying that should happen, but I'm just saying, if you wake up and there's a silhouette of someone standing over you in a dark room in your sleep, you're not just going to be like, oh honey,
Are you okay?
You'd be freaked the fuck out. I don't care if it's your kid, you would be freaked out. That's not the point I'm getting at here. The point is that just kids are used as a channel or a kind of vessel for creepiness in a lot of stories, and it's just kind of getting to the point where I don't feel it anymore. I don't feel the creepiness. I see that it's creepy, but not in the way they intend, not in the way that gives me chills or terrors. Cliche number 4, this is usually for the action books or the high tense suspense books, and it's just that when there's a book with a countdown, which is something that I feel a book should have, so it gives a sense of urgency to the story and the plot, but when there's a countdown, they always make it usually with a few seconds to spare. As an example, the hero has to save the city from some kind of, let's say, a nuclear bomb, and they always defuse the bomb when there's like 2 seconds left. I get it, it's thrilling, the clock's ticking and they're just about to cut the wire, and then bam, they save the day. 2 seconds left on the clock. It's just super unrealistic, and you can still add tension without that kind of countdown being the only tense part. The countdown should just set a pretext for the whole story that there isn't an unlimited amount of time. They can still save the day with lots of time to spare, and stuff can still happen in the climax that will add suspense and drama without it having to be the countdown. It all just seems a little bit too convenient at most times. Convenient. Cliche number 5 is for the mystery thrillers, more specifically the ones centering around a cop, more often than not a detective, and this is that they always have some kind of super depressing, sad past. You know what I mean, it's like a chain-smoking detective who gets drunk in his spare time, lives in a little flat, eats takeaway meals or container meals because their partner died. Like their partner on the force died, or maybe their actual partner died, their spouse, or maybe a kid died and then they ended up getting divorced as a result. So they're depressed all the time and they don't have any emotion, and it's so used. In fact, it's something I come to expect now when I read a story centering around a detective. I just assume that they've got some kind of past where a partner has died or someone else has died that has made them this stern-faced,
I don't play by the rules
kind of detective, you know what I mean? Doesn't always have to be the case. Anyway, yeah, that was it. That was 5 more book cliches that I hate. Once again, I don't necessarily hate the things I've mentioned, I just hate the fact that they're used so much that they've become cliches. All of these things and all of the things in my last video on this can still be used if it is important to the plot of the story, but don't just use it as a lax plot device if you're feeling a bit lazy one day. That's all I'm trying to say. If I think of any more like these in the future, maybe I'll do another top book cliches video. But for now, that's really all I can think of. If you know any book cliches that you hate, let me know in a comment below so we can have a chat about that. As always, my social media links are in the description. And if you like the video, show me some love, give me a thumbs up. If you're not already, join the Wolfpack and subscribe. And if you are on the Wolfpack, I'll see you in the next video. Catch ya.